Well, one of the places in the Gospels that seems to be designed to offend modern sensibilities is the interaction between Jesus and the Canaanite woman in Matthew 15. She comes up to him asking for her daughter to be healed, for a demon to be cast out of her. And not only is Jesus initially seemingly not receptive to her request, but it seems like he responds to her with a negative racial epithet. It sounds like he calls her a dog. And because of this, many people, when they read through the Gospels, either innocently just going through the first time or trying to find fault with something Jesus does, they hone in on this and say, what is he doing? Why does he call this Canaanite woman a dog? And the first thing that we need to say in answering it is, he doesn't. If we look closer at the passage, we find that what he's doing is using an analogy, not an epithet. Jesus frequently taught in parables and in comparisons. And in response to this woman's question and the disciples' question about her, he responds in the way that he often does, by comparing this situation to another one. And when he does this, he's no more calling her a dog than he calls his followers dirt in the parable of the sower. To see exactly what I mean by this, we're going to need to read the passage and find out what happens in this interaction. So in Matthew chapter 15, verses 21 to 28, it says, "And Jesus went away from there and withdrew to the district of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a Canaanite woman from that region came out and was crying, 'Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely oppressed by a demon.' But he did not answer her a word. And his disciples came and begged him, saying, 'Send her away, for she's crying out after us.' He answered, 'I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.' But she came and knelt before him, saying, 'Lord, help me.' And this is where most people see the problem. And he answered, 'It is not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs.' She said, 'Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table.' Then Jesus answered her, 'O woman, great is your faith. Be it done for you as you desire.' And her daughter was healed instantly." So, if you see, Jesus responds to this situation by making a comparison. When you have a household, there's food that you give the children, and then food that you give the dogs. You don't take food from the kids and give it to the dogs. The point of this illustration, of this analogy that he makes, is very similar to what Paul says in Romans chapter 1, verse 16, when he says, "I'm not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God unto salvation, for the Jew first, and also to the Greek." Jesus' image gives us a picture of order. He himself in this passage says, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." It wouldn't be right to uproot his ministry to them and then jumpstart the Gentile mission. Why? Because the people of Israel, the Jews, are the people to whom God had bound himself through covenant and promise. In his revelation throughout all of the books that we know as the Old Testament, he had set himself to give this salvation first to them. This salvation is first to the Jew, to Israel. But first doesn't mean only. In the surprising mystery of the gospel, the good news to Israel overflows in grace as good news to everyone, to the Gentiles. And while there is order to the Jew first, there is also unity and equality in this grace. The Gentiles, we find, are co-heirs, that they are equal recipients of the grace that is in Jesus. So Jesus uses this illustration to make this image of order. Also, it's worth recognizing that he's not only interacting with this woman, but he's also teaching his disciples. He wants both groups to know the nature of his mission, and so he sets out this image. It's not right to take the children's bread and give it to the dogs. And the woman, in faith, she responds in a way that reflects an understanding of this. She enters into the image that Jesus makes, and she responds in a way that's both faithful and clever. She says it's true that there's a right ordering of things. One would not take food away from the children to give it to the dogs. But in a household, the pet dog is still fed, and fed from the same food as the children. It's worth remembering that this is a time before kibble, so if you own a dog, you're going to feed it with the same food as you yourself are eating. And as someone who has both a dog and a toddler, I can say that my dog knows to park himself immediately underneath the kid's feet. Jesus then, recognizing that she understands the image of order, recognizing also that the same food goes to both, he praises her. He praises her faith and her understanding, and he grants her request, and he leaves her as an example for his disciples. And then this is inspired by the Spirit to be written to be an example to us as an example of faith and understanding. So Jesus not only doesn't call her a dog, but he uses an image that she immediately understands and picks up to show the order of salvation, the order of the offer of the good news in Jesus Christ, and the equality of what is given to both Jew and Gentile.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, visit sbts.edu/sample to access free theology lectures from Southern Seminary.